I grew up in a community, although Salt Lake is a relatively large community, the neighborhood, the area that I grew up in called Holiday was very, very similar to Marietta. People had been there for a long time. Most of my friends' parents had grown up in that area. Most of my friends and neighbors, they had gone to Skyline High School, and now their children were going to the same high school. I wanted to leave. I wanted to get out. I wanted to go see the world. There had to be something else besides, Salt Lake. And I was really debating, sitting down again in the basement of my room. This is now much later into the fall, almost into the winter of my senior year, debating whether or not I was going to be an Army officer or a Navy officer. And it dawned on me, I'd never actually been on a ship. I had seen the Pacific Ocean and dipped my toe in it, but hadn't actually ever been out to sea. And I thought, maybe I should know a little bit more about ships and boats before I joined the Navy. So with that thought, through the process of elimination, I picked the Army. I ended up applying for an Army ROTC scholarship. And, one of the things that's kind of a lifelong disappointment is I started the West Point process, the application process to the United States Military Academy at West Point. And when it came down to pulling the trigger, I chickened out. I just chickened out. No one that I knew had done anything like that. Everybody that I knew had gone to the University of Utah or to Brigham Young University, BYU, and occasionally you knew somebody had gone all the way up to Ogden to Weber State. Everybody had gone to school locally. No one had left, and certainly no one had gone. I didn't know anybody who had been to the military academy, and I was just afraid. I was absolutely afraid. And so ROTC seemed like a safe compromise. I could go to a college and still have an opportunity. And I've always kind of regretted that I did not have the courage to fill out that application and actually follow my dream. And the next huge mistake that I made is I received an ROTC scholarship. And again, I didn't have anybody that I could really turn to for advice and mentorship. And so I accepted the best school that accepted me, which was the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. At the time, U.S. News and World Report ranked all these schools. And the University of Pennsylvania, Penn, was an Ivy League institution, been founded by Ben Franklin. It was the third oldest college in the country, at Harvard, Yale, and then Penn. And it was ranked number 7. And I was so excited. I was completely enamored by the name. I was completely enamored by saying I was going to an Ivy League school, that I was leaving and going to Philadelphia. And the thought that, is that a good fit for you, never once crossed my mind. In hindsight, that's a huge mistake. The best school that you're accepted to is not always the best school for you. I was completely unprepared from a maturity standpoint, and I was completely unprepared from an academic standpoint. And not surprisingly, after my freshman year of school, I was politely invited to never, ever, ever come back. And so I flunked out. And you have to imagine, you go from this high of bragging to everybody, oh yeah, I've got an ROTC scholarship, I'm going to an Ivy League school, and then a year later, you're back in your hometown, in your neighborhood. Absolutely, positively humbled. And I started all over again at the University of Utah. After a quarter, I realized that I really wanted to be an Army officer. And so I went down to the Army ROTC department, introduced myself, and sat down. And I talked to this very wonderful major, and I explained, I'd had an ROTC scholarship. I had lost it, but I really wanted to come back and at least participate in ROTC. Now, what you have to understand is this is 1991. Desert Storm has just ended. We are in the middle of a major drawdown. And she says, well, I'm sorry, we're drawing down the military and we don't want you. And I was absolutely flabbergasted. I was just shocked. And I sat down on a bench, and I will just tell you, I will never forget this. It's a beautiful fall day. The air is kind of crisp, and I'm sitting down on this park bench with my head in my hands, just, what am I going to do? I am, at that point, I'm 19 years old, and I think my life is over. I've lost everything, and I gave it a lot of thought, and I said, what do you really want to do? And I said, I want to be an Army officer. And so I said, you know what? Then do it. And so the very next day, I went back to Army ROTC, found another officer there named Captain King, and sat down with him and said, I don't care. I'm going to do this. I'm going to enroll in these classes, and I'm going to complete the program. And they really can't prevent you from enrolling. I mean, they don't have to give you an ROTC scholarship or give you a commission, but they really can't prevent you from signing up for the classes. And so I signed up for the classes and started going through and successfully completed the ROTC program. I graduated from the University of Utah with a BA in English, and then it came time to apply, so this is like January of your senior year, apply for your commission. And I never really believed, at that point, I started taking the LSAT, and I was thinking, I've got to do something when I graduate. I'll probably just go to law school. The military was in the middle of its drawdown. I had lost an ROTC scholarship. My GPA wasn't that great in college. I had flunked out. I'd had to start all over at the University of Utah. I just didn't think the military would accept me. I just assumed that I would get a commission in the National Guard or something like that. But I applied for a regular Army commission, and fortunately, by some shock, I still am convinced it was a mistake. The United States Army gave me a regular Army commission. And the thing that I would tell you with that, and it's kind of been my life lesson, is don't make decisions for other people. Let them make those decisions. Too many people, I think, say, oh, I'll never get into Harvard. I'll never be accepted into that program. I'll never get that job. Don't make that decision. Don't start closing doors yourself. Let them reject you. It's not fun being rejected, but at least you didn't foreclose an opportunity.